Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. My mother-in-law suffered an accident and required a critical blood transfusion, and only my husband shared her rare blood type. Yet, he was cheerfully attending his mistress's birthday party and cursed me, claiming my jealousy caused his mother's death. After the funeral, the lawyer announced the estate and the heir, leaving him stunned. I sat motionless on the cold metal bench in the emergency room hallway. The sharp scent of antiseptic burned my nostrils, that familiar hospital smell, though today it choked me. My husband, Brendan, was an associate chief of surgery here. But today, that familiar smell twisted my heart. Behind that door, my mother-in-law, Eleanor, was fighting for her life. The chief of medicine, an older man with a high forehead, Dr. Wallace, rushed out, his face etched with worry. He looked at me and shook his head slightly. "Audrey, your mother-in-law's condition is critical. She suffered severe internal hemorrhaging from the traffic accident and has lost too much blood. The problem is, she's O negative, H null. It's an extremely rare blood type. The hospital blood bank is exhausted." Every word was a hammer blow. I clenched my fists, my nails digging into my palms. "Doctor, what can we do? Please, save my mother. We've contacted all surrounding hospitals, but they don't have it on hand. Does anyone in the family share her blood type? This is our only hope." I nodded quickly. "Yes, doctor, my husband, Brendan, her son. He shares her type. He works here, Dr. Brendan Tate, associate chief of surgery." A slight relief washed over the doctor's face, as if he'd found a lifeline. "Thank heavens. Call Mr. Tate immediately. We need to draw his blood for urgent cross-matching and transfusion. We can't wait a minute longer. Her life is counting down in seconds." Yes, I'll call right now." I fumbled, pulling my cell phone from my purse. My heart lifted with a tiny spark of hope, but immediately sank with a vague dread. I knew where Brendan was right now, and more importantly, who he was with. The emergency room door burst open again, and a gurney was rushed out. I only caught a glimpse of Eleanor's pale, closed eyes, the only person in his family who had treated me kindly, the one who always stood up for me when Brendan was irritable, who cooked me nourishing soup when I had morning sickness. "Mom," I whispered, tears blurring my vision. I looked at my phone screen and found his name. My finger pressed the call button, praying he would answer. The ring dragged on endlessly. Beep, 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 no answer. The call automatically disconnected, redirecting to voicemail. "The subscriber you are trying to reach is unavailable." My heart plummeted. I redialed. The second time, the same endless ringing. The third time, still nothing. I switched to texting, my fingers shaking so badly I mistyped several times. "Brendan, Mom is critical at the hospital. Doctors need an immediate blood transfusion. Come back now." I sent it and waited. 1 minute. 5 minutes. No reply. I knew he wasn't on duty or traveling. He was in River North. With Chloe, my foster sister, his mistress. They were in some luxury apartment he rented specifically, a place I was never allowed to step foot in. Despair surged. "I cannot let her die." Dr. Wallace looked out, his expression increasingly anxious. "Audrey, where is Mr. Tate?" I can't reach him." My voice cracked. "Dear God, why? Try calling again. You must find him, at all costs." I bit my lip, trying to stifle a sob. I knew Brendan often ignored my calls, especially when he was with Chloe. Had he blocked my number? A thought flashed. I saw the security attendant, Al, standing by the main entrance. I ran to him, pleading, "Al, please, may I borrow your phone for a quick call? It's a matter of life and death. I can't get through on mine." Al, who knew me as the associate chief's wife, looked shocked by my frantic state. Here, use mine." My hands trembling, I took his old phone and dialed Brendan's familiar number. This time, I didn't pray. I demanded the universe make him answer. The phone rang once, twice. On the third ring, someone picked up. "Hello, who is this?" A woman's voice answered, groggy and slightly annoyed at the interruption. It wasn't Brendan, it was Chloe. My throat tightened. I struggled to maintain my composure. the words coming out strained. "Chloe, it's Audrey. I need to speak to Brendan urgently." "Mom. Mom is in the emergency room." A second of silence stretched on the line. Then, a sharp, cold chuckle. "Oh, it's Audrey. What stunt are you pulling now? Getting creative, using a burner phone, huh?" "I'm not pulling a stunt. I'm telling the truth," I almost screamed. "Mom was in an accident. She needs blood immediately. Brendan is the only one who can save her. Please, put him on the phone. I'm begging you." I could hear soft jazz music in the background. They were clearly somewhere intimate. A life-and-death situation? Chloe's voice was dripping with sarcasm. "Do you think I don't know your games? Last time you faked a pregnancy to manipulate him. This time, you're cursing your mother-in-law to death? Don't you have any new tricks?" "I don't," I sobbed. "The baby that was real. And Mom, she's dying. You don't have to believe me, but let Brendan talk to the doctor. Her life is more important." "Important?" Chloe laughed louder. "Right now, Brendan's rest is more important. He just finished a complicated surgery. He's exhausted and needs to recuperate. Stop disturbing us." "You're lying. He didn't have surgery today. I know his schedule." "Oh, really? Well, let me tell you. Brendan is busy taking care of me. You're his wife, so what? Does he love you? Or are you just some useless shadow in the house?" "Listen, Audrey," her voice suddenly turned venomous. "Don't ever call and disturb Brendan when he's with me again. Understood?" "Chloe, you bitch! Give me the phone!" Click. She hung up. She actually hung up, right as I was begging her to save his mother's life. I stood frozen in the hallway. Al's phone slipped from my grasp, hitting the floor with a dry clatter. I don't know how long I stood there. Time thickened around me. I tried calling again on my own phone, then Al's, but no one answered. They had turned off their phones to enjoy each other, ignoring the fading life of the mother lying nearby. The emergency room door opened. This time, Dr. Wallace walked out, followed by two nurses with red-rimmed eyes. The elderly doctor removed his surgical cap, his gray hair damp with sweat. He walked toward me, his steps heavy. He didn't meet my eyes. He stared down at the stark white floor. He stopped in front of me, silent for a long time. Finally, his voice, rough and strained, broke the silence. "We did everything we could. The patient. She didn't make it. She's gone. The family should prepare themselves." "She's gone. Prepare themselves." The words registered, but my mind refused to process them. Gone? Mom is gone? No, it couldn't be. All because of a phone call. I wanted to scream, to deny, to smash everything, but I couldn't. My whole body stiffened. Just then, a sharp, searing pain sliced through my lower abdomen. The pain was sudden and violent. I doubled over, clutching my belly, and a terrifying hot, wet sensation began to spread. The nurse behind the doctor suddenly cried out, "Doctor! Her legs!" I looked down, trembling. The pale blue maternity dress I was wearing was soaked with a dark crimson stain. Blood. It was gushing out, drenching my legs, and starting to drip onto the floor. "Hemorrhaging!" Dr. Wallace yelled. "Get her into the emergency room immediately!" "Hurry!" I felt my body become weightless. Someone lifted me. The pain in my abdomen surged again, more intense, tearing me apart. The world before me began to spin. The fluorescent lights on the ceiling whirled. The doctor's shouts, the frantic footsteps, it all faded. Before sinking into darkness, the last image in my mind wasn't Eleanor's face, but Chloe's mocking smile over the phone. Beep, beep, beep. I woke up in a sterile white room. The smell of antiseptic was still there, but cleaner, like a typical hospital room, not the choking odor of the ER. An IV needle was in my arm, and a bag of saline dripped steadily. My lower abdomen throbbed with a deep, burning ache. I lay still, staring at the empty ceiling. My mind felt blank, and my body had a strange, profound emptiness. The door creaked open. Dr. Wallace from yesterday entered, followed by a female doctor I recognized as the chief of obstetrics and gynecology. Both looked grave. "Audrey, you're awake?" the female doctor said gently. "How are you feeling?" I didn't answer. I just looked at her. I knew something was horribly wrong. The pain in my stomach was not labor. My mother-in-law? I whispered, my throat parched. Dr. Wallace bowed his head. We moved Mrs. Tate's body to the morgue. It's been a day, and we still haven't been able to contact Mr. Tate. You need to prepare to handle the arrangements. A day. I had been unconscious for a day where my mother-in-law lay cold in the morgue and my husband hadn't checked on me. And me? I asked, looking directly at the female doctor. She was silent for a long moment. She pulled a chair closer and sat by my bedside. Audrey, last night, you suffered severe emotional shock, leading to premature labor and unstoppable hemorrhaging. She took my hand, a warm touch that couldn't dispel the cold enveloping me. We couldn't save the baby. The fetus was too small. I am so sorry for your loss. I closed my eyes. My child. The baby I had hoped for, the one Chloe claimed I fabricated to hold on to my husband. He was gone. But that wasn't all. The doctor continued, her voice trembling. The hemorrhage was extremely severe. Your uterus was badly damaged. The bleeding wouldn't stop. To save your life, we had no choice. We had to perform a total hysterectomy. A hysterectomy? I opened my eyes. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just felt something shatter inside me, the permanent end of my ability to bear children. Brendan, Chloe. The names appeared in my mind, carved with a sharp, unforgiving blade. Seeing my chilling silence, the doctor worried. Audrey? Are you all right? You need rest. What happened is irreversible, but you must focus on recovering. I shook my head slightly. Thank you, doctor. I understand. I want to be discharged. Absolutely not, both doctors said simultaneously. You just underwent major surgery. The incision hasn't healed, and your health is severely compromised. You must remain here for observation for at least a week. I'm fine. I struggled to sit up. The searing pain from the abdominal incision made me wince, but I ignored it. I have to take care of Mom. She's lying there alone. She's cold. I pulled out the IV needle, ignoring the trickle of blood. The physical pain no longer mattered. The death of Eleanor, the death of my child, and the death of my womanhood had transformed me. I looked at the two doctors. Please complete my discharge papers. My husband, Associate Chief of Surgery Brendan Tate, he will handle all the expenses. I changed out of the hospital gown, putting on the dress that still carried the faint, dried bloodstain from the day before. I had no other clothes. I walked out of the room, my body weak, every step feeling like needles in my abdomen. But I didn't stop. I had to take Eleanor home. As I was completing the paperwork for the remains, my phone vibrated in my pocket, a text message. It was Chloe's number. She had sent me a photo. In the picture, Chloe was sitting on a bed, holding out her slender arm. A tiny adhesive bandage covered a small cut. Brendan was sitting beside her, tenderly bending down to blow gently on the injury. His face was filled with doting affection. The accompanying text read, "See? He's busy taking care of me. Stop being a bother. Annoying." I tightened my grip on the phone. Busy. He was busy tending to his mistress's tiny scratch while his mother died unattended, and his wife lost their child and her ability to ever conceive again. I didn't reply. I silently turned off the phone. I handled everything myself. I didn't have much cash, but I used my meager savings to pay for Eleanor's cremation. I didn't notify any relatives. I wanted to personally guide her on her final journey. When the crematorium furnace cooled, I accepted the ceramic urn from the attendant. It felt heavy with Eleanor's loneliness and injustice. Clutching the urn, I took a taxi back to our suburban mansion, the home Eleanor had worked her entire life to build for her son. I pushed open the door. The house was quiet, but I heard muffled laughter coming from the living area. I stepped inside and placed the urn on the large mahogany coffee table. I lit an incense stick, temporarily setting it in a small cup of rice I'd brought. The movement drew Brendan and Chloe's attention. They emerged, both wearing expensive silk pajamas. Brendan saw me, his face twisting in annoyance. "Where the hell have you been all day? Just now getting home? The house is a mess. Where were you?" Then he noticed the ceramic urn on the table. "What is that?" Chloe curled her lip. "Ugh, what is that ugly thing? Did you drag some trash home again?" Brendan narrowed his eyes. "Oh, I remember. Your stupid poodle? Is your dog finally dead? I told you to get rid of it. This house is not a kennel. Disgusting. Without a moment's hesitation, he swung his foot out. Crash! The urn flew off the table, hitting the marble floor, shattering completely. Grayish-white ashes scattered across the living room floor, some dust settling on the cuff of Brendan's pajamas. He brushed off his pants, looking disgusted. Get this mess out of my sight right now. I stood still, looking at the pile of Eleanor's ashes scattered on the floor. The incense stick I had lit had also fallen, extinguished. Chloe covered her mouth, chuckling. Brendan, why are you so volatile? It's just a dog. I'll buy you a new one tomorrow. I hear poodles are very hygienic. I didn't look at them. Slowly, I bent down and picked up Eleanor's small framed photo, which had luckily survived the crash. Then, I unzipped my purse and took out a folded piece of paper. I walked up to Brendan and unfolded the document. A death certificate. My voice was terrifyingly calm. Brendan narrowed his eyes and snatched the paper. He read, Eleanor Tate passed away at 7:45 p.m. yesterday. Brendan's face drained of color. He looked up at me, then down at the ashes on the floor. He began to tremble. This can't be. Chloe peered over his shoulder, her face white. What? Did the old woman really die? No. No way. Brendan suddenly roared. You're staging this. You conspired with the doctors to forge the documents. He crumpled the paper and threw it at my face. You think I'm stupid? My mother can't be dead. She only had a minor accident. Minor accident? I sneered. For the first time, I looked him straight in the eyes. Internal hemorrhaging, needing raw null blood. Where were you when your mother needed you? Brendan choked. She's lying. Chloe quickly cut in, grabbing Brendan's arm. Don't trust her, Brendan. She definitely didn't call you. She deliberately let your mother die. She wants to take this house. Remember? She faked the pregnancy last time. This woman is poisonous. Brendan seemed to snap out of it. The fleeting hint of remorse vanished, replaced by rage and suspicion. He pointed a finger at me. That's right, it's you. You deliberately harmed my mother. You were secretly glad I didn't come back, weren't you? You let Mom die, and now you're playing the victim. What do you want? Money? He turned to Chloe and embraced her. I'm exhausted with her, Chloe. We're tired. We need rest. We'll deal with this tomorrow. With that, he and Chloe casually stepped over the pile of his mother's remains. They walked upstairs, heading toward the master bedroom, our marital bedroom. I heard the door slam shut, then the click of the lock. I stood alone in the cold living room. A draft from the window swirled the ashes around my feet. I knelt down. I didn't cry. I used my bare hands to carefully scoop up handfuls of Eleanor's ashes. The dust mixed with the faint pinpricks on my knuckles from the IV, clinging to the incision wound that was still faintly weeping blood through the fabric of my dress. The cold pain fueled the fire of hatred starting to burn within me. I stayed there all night. I didn't sleep, nor did I feel hungry or tired. I just sat, holding the broken urn, which contained the small amount of ash I managed to salvage. The wound on my belly periodically reminded me of everything I had lost. As dawn broke, I heard the sound of the bedroom door opening upstairs, followed by Brendan and Chloe's laughter as they prepared for the day. I stood up. My body was stiff after a night on the floor, but my will was steel. I grabbed my phone. The first call was to my Uncle George, Brendan's father's younger brother, the most respected voice in the family. Hello, Uncle George. It's Audrey. Could you please come to the house this morning? Brendan is home. Yes, about Mom. She passed away. Brendan just got back. We have a family emergency. Please come right away. The second call was to Dr. Wallace, Brendan's chief of medicine. Doctor, this is Audrey, Brendan's wife. I'm calling to inform you, his mother has passed away. Brendan returned last night, but his mental state is unstable. He asked me to invite everyone in the department to our house this morning for an urgent family matter. Yes, regarding the funeral arrangements. Please tell everyone. I called all the relatives and close colleagues I knew. I told them Brendan was back and had invited everyone to discuss Eleanor's arrangements. Half an hour later, the first person arrived, then the second, Uncle George, Aunt Patricia, Cousin David, and then an entire delegation of doctors and nurses from the hospital. The quiet mansion suddenly filled with people. The first thing they saw was me. I was wearing the simple white morning dress I had prepared overnight. My hair was disheveled, my face pale, and in the middle of the living room, a pile of scattered ashes and a broken urn. "Audrey! What happened, child?" Uncle George rushed toward me, horrified. "Mom." "Mrs. Tate," I said, my voice utterly devoid of emotion. "These are her ashes." "My God, where is Brendan? He's home, yet he allowed this? This is unforgivable. Where is he?" The crowd was stunned. Brendan's colleagues whispered among themselves, "Is this really their associate chief of surgery?" Just then, Brendan and Chloe descended the stairs. Both were dressed. Brendan was in a sharp suit. Chloe was in a luxurious, heavily made-up silk dress. They were laughing about something until they saw the scene in the living room. Dozens of eyes were fixed on them, eyes filled with anger, astonishment, and contempt. Brendan's face went chalk white. "Why are all of you here?" Uncle George couldn't hold back. He lunged at Brendan. "You! Explain yourself. Your mother is dead, her ashes are here, and you're dressed like this? What have you done?" Brendan stumbled backward, stammering. I. Chloe quickly interjected. "You misunderstand, everyone. We were just about to leave to arrange the funeral." "Shut up!" Aunt Patricia screamed at her. "Who are you to interfere in this family's business? Isn't this Chloe, Mrs. Lang's foster daughter? Why are you spending the night here with Brendan?" The situation rapidly unraveled. Brendan panicked. He looked at me and roared, "It was you! You called everyone here to humiliate me, didn't you?" I simply gazed at him, then toward the still open door of the master bedroom. "Uncle George, everyone," I said, my voice weak. "I'm exhausted. I don't have the strength." I staggered slightly. "Please, I invite you all to look inside Brendan's bedroom. You will understand why Mom died." With that, I led the way. The curious and suspicious crowd followed me upstairs. Brendan and Chloe frantically tried to block them. "Stop! This is my house. No one is allowed." But they couldn't stop an enraged mob. I walked straight to the master bedroom door. The door I'd heard lock the night before was wide open. Inside, the bedsheets were still tossed in disarray, and the air carried the lingering scent of two shameless lovers. "Oh, dear Lord!" Aunt Patricia covered her mouth. They slept in Audrey's bed. Disgraceful, immoral. Brendan and Chloe froze at the door, completely bloodless. "You see, everyone?" I turned and stood amidst the crowd. "This is why my mother died. When she desperately needed a blood transfusion, her only son was busy here with my foster sister, his mistress." I called, and he wouldn't answer. His mistress, Chloe, mocked me, claiming I was fabricating my mother-in-law's death to keep my husband. I pulled open my morning gown and pointed at my abdomen. They didn't just kill my mother, they killed the unborn child I was carrying, and because of that shock, I can never be a mother again. The room fell into a heavy, suffocating silence. My final words echoed in the messy bedroom. Every eye, initially stunned, now turned to pure, intense rage. "A hysterectomy?" Aunt Patricia whispered, trembling. As a woman, she understood the depth of that pain. Oh, poor Audrey. Dr. Wallace, who worked directly with Brendan, looked shattered. He looked at Brendan, no longer with the eyes of a superior, but with the contempt of a physician facing a man utterly devoid of medical ethics. "Mr. Tate, you are a doctor. How could you? Your wife miscarried and underwent such serious surgery, and where were you?" Brendan backed away, cornered against the wall. He glared at me, his eyes full of murderous hatred. "You're lying," he yelled, grasping for a final hope. "You set this up, all of it. You fabricated this whole thing. Your mother's death is a lie. Your pregnancy was a lie." He turned to the crowd, trying to plead his case. "Uncles, aunts, don't believe her. She's venomous. She knew about Chloe, no. She was jealous and invented the pregnancy to keep me. She was never pregnant." Chloe, hiding behind Brendan, nodded frantically. Yes, that's right. Last time she even called, claiming she was pregnant to force Brendan back. I heard her lie. A murmur of doubt arose. Some looked at me skeptically. I smiled, a chilling expression even I barely recognized. Faked a pregnancy? I looked straight into Brendan's eyes. Do you remember the night almost 3 months ago? You came home drunk from entertaining clients. It was pitch black in the room. You lunged at me, embracing me. You called my name, but you called me Chloe. I raised my voice so everyone could hear. You confused your wife with your mistress, right there on this bed. Brendan's face went utterly blank. He remembered. My voice hardened. The child I lost, the one you accused me of inventing, was the result of that despicable, drunken mistake. He was your son, Eleanor's grandson, the child you both ruthlessly killed. The crowd erupted. Unbelievable. He's not human. He's an animal. Uncle George could take no more. He was a hot-tempered man. He surged forward and delivered a devastating slap across Brendan's face. Slap! You miserable bastard. You are a disgrace to this family. Your mother died and you didn't come home. Your wife lost your child while you were with that woman. And you dared to smash your mother's ashes. Brendan stumbled, clutching his face against the wall. He was completely broken. All avenues of retreat were blocked. He couldn't deny it. He began to panic. No, it wasn't me. I didn't mean to. It was her fault. Her fault for trapping me. It's all because of this woman. He pointed a frantic finger at me, his eyes wild. If she hadn't called and bothered us, Chloe wouldn't have been angry. If Chloe hadn't been angry, I wouldn't have had to stay and comfort her. If I had come home, Mom wouldn't have died. It's all your fault. That extreme, pathetic deflection made me laugh a dry, heartbreaking sound. Yes, it is my fault, I nodded. My fault for being so foolish as to trust you. My fault for being so weak as to tolerate you both. I looked around the shocked crowd. My family business is concluded. Thank you, uncles, aunts, and colleagues for bearing witness. I turned to Brendan's colleagues. For matters at the hospital, I hope you handle it internally. And now, I ask only the family to stay for one final, important matter. Dr. Wallace nodded gravely. We understand. We will report this to the board immediately. An associate chief with such ethics cannot remain at the hospital. The medical staff quietly retreated, shaking their heads in disgust as they passed Brendan. His career was over. When only the family remained, the atmosphere was even heavier. Uncle George was still trembling with anger. Brendan and Chloe were cornered. I took a breath. The pain from my incision reminded me to move quickly. I invited you here today, not only to expose my husband's true face, but for something else. I walked back to the living room, everyone following. I stopped beside the table where the ashes still lay scattered. Uncle George, everyone. Mom left a will before she passed. The moment Brendan heard will, his head snapped up, his eyes suddenly sharp. That's right. The mansion, his mother's entire estate. That was all he truly cared about. Where is the will? He spat. You're lying again. I don't need to lie, I said calmly. I invited Mom's attorney. I looked toward the door, where a man in a suit, carrying a briefcase, had been waiting. Mr. Hayes stepped in and bowed slightly to the family. Good morning. I am Mr. Hayes, legal counsel for Mrs. Eleanor Tate and executor of her will. Brendan and Chloe exchanged glances, now uneasy. Mr. Hayes opened his briefcase and took out a carefully sealed document. As requested by Mrs. Tate, this will is to be publicly read immediately following her death, witnessed by all present family members. He broke the seal. I will now read the full text of the last will and testament. The initial part covered legal formalities and property lists. I didn't pay close attention. I was waiting for the crucial clause. Regarding the distribution of assets, Mr. Hayes emphasized, including the suburban mansion at this address, appraised at $5 million, 3 parcels of investment property totaling $2 million, and all cash, stocks, bonds, and jewelry held at the bank valued at $1 million. Total value, $8 million. Brendan's eyes glittered. $8 million. A huge fortune. He swallowed hard. Mr. Hayes continued, Mrs. Eleanor Tate hereby bequeaths the entirety of this $8 million estate to her daughter-in-law, Audrey Reed. What? Brendan screamed, lunging forward to grab the will. Uncle George held him back. Calm down. Hear him out. Chloe was stunned, her face pale. Brendan roared, No way! That's impossible. I'm her son. How could she give it to her? This is a fake will. Please, calm yourself, Mr. Hayes said coolly. The will is completely legal and fully notarized. Mrs. Tate included one additional clause. He resumed reading, emphasizing the critical passage. The entire estate shall belong solely to my daughter-in-law, Audrey Reed, with one condition. If my son, Brendan Tate, is present by my side at the time of my death, the estate shall be divided equally, half to Audrey, half to Brendan. Mr. Hayes looked up at Brendan. However, if Brendan Tate, for any reason, is not present at the time of my passing, he shall inherit nothing. The entire $8 million will go to my daughter-in-law, Audrey Reed, who cared for me in my final years. The room was silent. Brendan collapsed onto the floor. He understood. His mother had known. She knew everything. She knew he was cheating, and she knew he wouldn't come back. This wasn't a will. It was a trap, a final judgment. No, Mom. Brendan began to weep, but it was too late. I looked at him, devoid of pity. I stepped forward and pulled out another piece of paper from my purse. I speak now, I said, my voice echoing, as the new legal owner of this residence. I demand you both get out. I tossed the paper onto the floor in front of Brendan, and this is the divorce petition. I've signed it. You sign it now. Brendan stared blankly at the divorce paper on the floor. He had lost everything within the span of an hour, his mother, his child, his career, and now his entire inheritance. He had nothing left. Chloe stood frozen, her beautiful, made-up face contorted. She had invested years in Brendan, believing she would become the lady of a huge fortune. Now, he was penniless, even more desperate than she was. Sign it, I repeated. Uncle George growled. What are you waiting for, boy? You want Audrey to drag this into court and shame you further? Sign it. Trembling, Brendan picked up the pen. He scrawled his name on the document. Done. Our marriage was over. I turned to Mr. Hayes. Thank you, counsel. I rely on you for all future procedures. It's my duty, Audrey. Goodbye, everyone. The lawyer gathered his papers and left. After the lawyer departed, Uncle George and the others also rose. Audrey, take care of yourself. Your wound is still fresh. We'll handle this scoundrel. Thank you, I replied, then looked at Chloe. Seeing everyone staring at her, she began to tremble. She knew she had nothing left to cling to. She started to inch toward the door. Chloe, I called out, stopping her. She froze. I smiled a cold, alien smile. You got what you wanted, didn't you? You got Brendan. I walked closer, looking her straight in the eye. Congratulations. You successfully stole a husband, a dishonorable, unfaithful man, despised by his family, and most importantly, a penniless husband. I, Chloe stammered. He has no house, no car, no money now. Do you still love him? I asked, my voice laced with mockery. Chloe glanced at Brendan, then back at me. She knew I was provoking her, but her greed and jealousy were even stronger. Of course, I love Brendan, not for his money, unlike you. Oh, really? I laughed louder. Then prove it. Prove it right now. Prove what? Marry him, I said. Or are you just another gold digger? Now that he's broke, are you scared? And Brendan, I turned to him. Do you dare marry her? Do you dare walk into the county clerk's office and marry your mistress, your wife's foster sister, just 3 days after your mother's funeral? This goading struck both their raw egos. Brendan was at rock bottom. He needed someone to cling to. Chloe was terrified. She needed a title, even with a broke man. She was afraid I would throw her out. Brendan, Chloe shrieked, turning to him. We have to marry now. We'll register the marriage. We'll show her we don't need her money. Brendan, in his desperate frenzy, nodded like a machine. He allowed Chloe to drag him like a puppet. We'll register. We'll register. I watched them go. Good. Uncle George, aunts, you all go home. I was just about to go file my divorce papers at the county clerk's office anyway. Let's share a ride. The three of us took the same taxi. Brendan and Chloe in the back, I in the front. No one spoke. The air inside the cab was suffocating. The county clerk's office was quiet that morning. I filed my paperwork first. The clerk looked at me, then at Brendan, then at Chloe, his eyes full of confusion. But it was his job. You both agree to this divorce, with no contested property? Yes, I answered firmly. Please sign here. The decree of divorce will be issued shortly. I signed without hesitation. Brendan signed too, his hand trembling. While we waited, Chloe dragged Brendan to the counter next to us, the marriage license counter. She submitted their papers. Everything moved quickly. 15 minutes later, the clerk called my name. Audrey Reed, here is your finalized divorce decree. I took the light piece of paper. Finally, I was free. Immediately after, the other counter called out, Mr. Tate, Miss Chloe, please step up for your marriage license. Chloe snatched the document from the clerk's hand. She brandished it like a trophy in front of me. See? Brendan is mine. Brendan stood beside her, his face vacant. I looked at them, then slowly opened my purse and took out another paper, the document I had carefully saved. Happy marriage, I said calmly. I held up the paper. It was a copy of Eleanor's death certificate. Mr. Tate, Miss Chloe, look closely at the date on this. Your mother died on May 6th, I stated clearly. Today is May 9th. Barely 3 days have passed since her death. I looked straight into Brendan's eyes. He began to shake. You rushed to sign the divorce papers with your wife, and immediately, this very morning, you married your mistress. The day you start your new life, I ground out every word, is the day you trampled on your mother's unburied memory. Oh, and one more thing, I smiled. Now your wedding anniversary will forever be linked to your mother's funeral date. How meaningful. Congratulations. Then I turned and walked away, leaving behind a sound of desperate anguish. It was Brendan. He was staring at the date on the death certificate. Only now, in this moment, did the full reality of his mother's death truly hit him, the fact that she was gone, the fact that he was an unfilial monster, and the fact that he had personally destroyed everything. He collapsed, sobbing uncontrollably right there in the county clerk's office. But I didn't look back. This was only the beginning. I stepped out of the county clerk's office and took a deep breath. The air outside, despite the traffic and pollution, was 1,000,000 times easier to breathe than the air inside. The incision still throbbed, but it was nothing compared to the relief of holding the divorce decree. As I reached the steps, my phone vibrated. It was Brendan. I glanced at the screen and silenced the call. It vibrated again. Still him. I ignored it. I took a taxi straight back to the mansion. My mansion now. The first thing I did when I got home was change all the locks. I called a locksmith immediately. When the last technician left, I felt safe. I went upstairs, opened my laptop. The phone continued to vibrate. Brendan had switched to texting. Wild, desperate messages. Audrey, please answer. I'm begging you. Come home. I was wrong. I know I was wrong. Please forgive me. Come back to me. Don't be so cruel. You took all the money. What more do you want? Chloe forced me. I didn't want to marry her. She made me. I read them and smiled. Just half an hour ago, he was proclaiming his love. Now, they were shifting all the blame onto each other. I ignored the rubbish texts. I opened a file I had prepared. It contained all the evidence. First, the audio recording. I was used to being manipulated by Chloe. The night I called from the security guard's phone, I had a bad feeling. I activated the recording feature on my phone and held it up to the earpiece of Al's phone. Now, Chloe's sharp, mocking voice played clearly on my computer. This time, you're cursing your mother-in-law to death? Don't you have any new tricks? Right now, Brendan's rest is more important. Second, the screenshots. The text I sent to Brendan. Brendan, Mom is critical at the hospital. Doctors need an immediate blood transfusion. Come back now. Seen no reply. The text Chloe sent me after I woke up, the photo of Brendan bandaging her tiny cut with the caption, "See? He's busy taking care of me. Stop being a bother. Annoying. Third, the copy of Eleanor's death certificate. Fourth, copies of my divorce decree and Brendan and Chloe's marriage license, both issued on the same day, May 9th, just 3 days after his mother's passing. I drafted an email. Subject: The confession of a wife. Associate Chief of Surgery abandons, dying mother for mistress, and the shocking truth behind a tragic death. I wrote a lengthy letter detailing the entire story, using the voice of a wife who lost her child, a daughter-in-law who lost her mother, a victim pushed to the brink. I recounted the moment I begged Chloe, Eleanor's last breath, my miscarriage and hysterectomy, and Brendan smashing his mother's urn. I didn't exaggerate, I only told the truth. I attached all the files, the audio recording, the screenshots, the certificates, the divorce, and the marriage license. I sent this email to a host of addresses I had collected beforehand. Major newspapers, online news sites, and influential social media bloggers known for exposing scandals. Finished, I hit send. Then I closed the laptop and turned off my phone. I brewed a pot of Earl Grey tea. I went out to the balcony and looked at the garden Eleanor had lovingly tended. I was the writer of this script, and now the curtain was rising. The news broke faster than I expected. Overnight, my story exploded across headlines and social media. Public outrage was immediate. Chloe's audio recording was shared at lightning speed. The photo of Brendan tending to his mistress's scratch while his mother died became a symbol of his unforgivable lack of filial piety. Headlines screamed, "Cold-blooded associate chief, mother needs rare blood, son busy with mistress." The cruel phone call, "You're cursing your mother-in-law to death?" Outrage, doctor smashes mother's ashes, Mary's mistress days after funeral. The hospital where Brendan worked could not stay silent. They immediately issued a statement. "Doctor, Brendan Tate is temporarily suspended from his position as Associate Chief of Surgery, pending investigation into allegations circulated online." Brendan and Chloe were hunted by the public. They couldn't return to my house because I had changed the locks and hired security. They couldn't go to Chloe's family. They were evicted from the luxury condo he rented because I used my new inheritance rights to cut off his access to funds. His credit cards were locked. I knew they were hiding in some cheap motel on the outskirts of the city. Chloe frantically called her contacts, trying to get the articles taken down, but it was useless. Public fury was too high. Moreover, I had used Eleanor's money to pay the news sites to keep the stories running. Money that buys silence can also buy speech. I knew the collapse of his career wasn't enough. I wanted them to destroy each other. I opened another file. A secret I had stumbled upon long ago when Chloe and I lived together as sisters. Chloe had an identical twin sister. Years ago, Chloe's biological family was too poor and gave one child away. Chloe was adopted by the family who later adopted me. The other sister, named Lily, was sold to a traveling show and disappeared. Chloe always assumed Lily was dead, but I knew better. I hired a private investigator, and they found Lily. She wasn't dead, but she lived a completely different life. She was a dancer at a notorious bar, known for her wild lifestyle and compromising photos with various men. Crucially, she looked exactly like Chloe, a perfect double. I called the detective and had them send me all the photos of Lily. An hour later, I had a file of images. Lily hugging a heavily tattooed man, Lily drinking in a provocative pose, Lily in skimpy clothes, laughing at a wild party. My plan began. I didn't upload these photos online. That would be too gentle. I used a burner phone and created an anonymous account. I sent all the compromising photos directly to Brendan's phone, along with one single text message, "Mr. Pound, end of texteen. Tate, do you think you're the only one taking care of Chloe? You're dead wrong. You're being cuckolded, you fool." I knew Brendan. He was arrogant and suspicious. Having lost everything, he didn't trust anyone, not even the woman who had disgraced herself for him. In the cramped motel room, Brendan received the message. He opened the photos. He saw Chloe. He saw his woman laughing and embracing other men. He didn't know about Lily's existence. He only believed that while he was at work, or even while they were secretly together, Chloe was still sleeping around with countless others. His male pride shattered. Suspicion erupted. "Bitch!" he roared. "You dared to cheat on me!" Brendan lunged at Chloe, slapping her. "Who else have you slept with? Who is this guy?" Chloe stared at the photos, stunned. "It's not me. I don't know. They're lying. You have to believe me." "Believe you?" Brendan laughed maniacally. "I didn't even believe my own mother. I rejected my own son. Why should I believe you to be fooled again?" The battle between two cornered animals officially began in that filthy room, and I sat in my clean mansion, waiting for the results. I let them tear each other apart for another day. In that dirty, damp motel room, I knew they weren't just fighting, they were at the peak of suspicion and hatred. Brendan's pride was wounded. Chloe's sense of injustice, though unfounded, was boiling. It was time to add fuel to the fire. I used a new burner phone and dialed Chloe's number. She picked up almost instantly. She must have been desperate for some kind of rescue call. Her voice was raspy, probably from screaming and crying. "Hello? Who is this?" "Chloe? It's Audrey," I said, my voice gentle, like I was checking in on an old friend. Silence on the other end. I could hear her breathing become shallow and ragged. "You bitch! Why are you calling me?" Chloe shrieked. "Haven't you ruined me enough?" "Ruined you?" I chuckled, a clear, sweet sound. "I called to congratulate you. Congratulations on marrying the man of your dreams. How's the new life? I hear you two are deliriously happy, honeymooning in a roadside motel. How romantic." "Shut up!" Chloe roared. I heard Brendan curse in the background. "Don't be so temperamental, Chloe," I maintained my casual tone. "I'm just curious about one thing. You and Brendan have been close for years, haven't you? Even before I married him?" "I don't understand." I feigned confusion. "How is your health so good? And you were intimate with Brendan for so long, yet you never managed to have a child." This question struck Chloe's biggest fear and pain. She was over 30. She had tried to conceive with Brendan to secure her position as the mother of the heir, but she couldn't. She had secretly visited doctors many times, always being told she was healthy. "You! Shut up! That's none of your business." Chloe's voice began to tremble. "Not my business? I just feel sorry for you," I sighed with fake compassion. "You tried for so many years, yet you couldn't have a baby. Do you know why?" "You? What do you know?" I paused, letting her curiosity and fear peak. Then I casually dropped the bomb. "Oh, I forgot. You can't have children." I paused again. "It's Brendan's doing." A deathly silence fell on the line. "You. What did you say?" Chloe stammered, her voice lifeless. "I said your beloved husband permanently rendered you infertile." I spoke each word clearly. "Don't believe me? Ask him. Ask him what kind of vitamin supplements he's been giving you all this time." I chuckled coldly. "Did you really think he loved you? He and his mother never wanted someone like you, a low-class foster child, to bear a child for their family. He was just playing with you." "You're lying! You're spreading lies!" Chloe's final cry was full of desperation. "Am I lying?" "You ask him." "Goodbye, Chloe. And Brendan." I hung up. I knew the final bomb had dropped. It wouldn't just destroy their love, it would destroy them. In the motel room, Chloe dropped the phone. She turned around slowly, mechanically. Her face, already bruised from yesterday's beating, was now devoid of blood. Brendan sat on the bed smoking, having overheard snippets of the call. "What? What did she say?" Brendan snapped, trying to hide his anxiety. Chloe didn't answer. She repeated my question, her voice hollow. "Supplements. What supplements did you give me?" Brendan flinched, the cigarette falling from his mouth. "What supplements?" "Stop pretending!" Chloe suddenly screamed, lunging at him like a wounded beast. "The supplements. Don't you remember? About a year ago, you gave me a bottle of pills. You said they were imported, a gift from your mother. You told me to take them to look more beautiful and stay slim." Brendan was stunned. The memory flooded back. He remembered that evening. Eleanor had called him into her private study. "Brendan," Eleanor had said calmly, "I see you're struggling lately. Work at the hospital and your outside activities." Brendan had flinched. "Mom, what are you talking about?" Eleanor didn't look at him. She opened a drawer and took out a small, unlabeled glass vial filled with pale pink pills. "I have these. Supplements from a doctor in Switzerland. They're excellent." She placed the vial in his hand. "Mom, I'm a doctor. Why would I need these?" Brendan tried to refuse. Eleanor cut him off, looking him straight in the eye with a cold, sharp gaze. "Give them to that Chloe girl." Brendan froze. "Mom? How did you—" "I don't speak about it, but that doesn't mean I don't know." Eleanor's voice was even. "I won't stop you from having fun, but this house absolutely cannot have illegitimate offspring." "Absolutely not." "The pregnancy?" Brendan stammered. "Don't worry. These are supplements. They only cause a slight irregularity in menstruation and are good for the skin." Eleanor had smiled lightly. "You're a doctor. If you give them to her, she'll trust you. Just tell her they were a gift for you that you didn't want. She'll take them. Make sure she finishes the entire bottle every day." Brendan had felt relief then. His mother knew but wasn't making a scene. She was giving him a solution. He was a doctor, but he hadn't checked the ingredients. He blindly believed it was some high-end contraceptive. He hadn't, and hadn't dared to, imagine his mother could be so ruthless. He gave the vial to Chloe, and Chloe, with absolute trust in her doctor lover, took them every day until the last pill. Brendan looked at Chloe in horror. He began to understand. His mother hadn't just wanted Chloe not to get pregnant, she wanted Chloe to never be able to get pregnant. "The pills. Mom gave them to me." Brendan tried to explain, his voice shaking. "Your mother?" Chloe laughed hysterically, a maniacal sound. Tears streamed down her face. "Your mother? And you? You're a doctor. Don't you know what those pills were? You're lying." She scratched and beat Brendan. "You bastard. You animal. Your whole family lied to me. You ruined me. You personally made me infertile. You destroyed my life." "I didn't know. Honestly, I didn't know," Brendan shrieked, trying to defend himself. But his explanation was meaningless now. It was his hand that delivered the poisoned pills to his mistress. He was both the culprit and the instrument in his mother's cold plan. In the cramped room, the two who once passionately loved each other, who had risked everything to be together, now attacked each other, driven not by love, but by absolute hatred. They fought like wild dogs, stripped of all reason. Chloe had lost everything: her career, her money, and now her ability to be a mother. Brendan had lost everything: his fortune, his reputation, and now he realized he was just a puppet in the hands of his dead mother. They had nothing left to lose. I sat in my luxurious study in the mansion, sipping my Earl Grey. Everything was quiet, but through the private investigator's phone, I could clearly hear the chaos from that cheap motel. The sound of breaking furniture, screaming, and vulgar curses. They had been tearing each other apart for 2 days since my fateful phone call. It was time to end this act. I picked up the phone and called Mr. Hayes. "Mr. Hayes, please convene an emergency board meeting of the hospital group." "Yes." Out of the $1 million in fluid assets Eleanor left, most was in controlling shares of the Triumph Group, the private hospital chain that owned the Metropolitan Medical Center. Eleanor had planned everything. "I have one request," I stated firmly. "Terminate Mr. Brendan Tate's employment immediately and permanently remove him from all positions." The reason: gross professional misconduct, causing severe negative impact on the hospital's reputation. This announcement must be publicized immediately. Half an hour later, the decision was ratified. As the largest shareholder, I didn't need to show my face. The power of money had done my work. A formal termination notice, stamped with the company seal, was delivered to the very motel where Brendan and Chloe were hiding. I imagined Brendan receiving that paper, his last lifeline, the final shred of pride of a doctor, an associate chief, severed. He wasn't just suspended, he was fired, disgraced. But I wasn't finished. I had one debt to collect, not on Chloe's behalf, but to push her to destruction. My detective had discovered that while dating Brendan, Chloe had borrowed $100,000 from a local loan shark gang to buy designer goods and a luxury car just to maintain her image with Brendan. She thought she would soon be the lady of the house and spent money without restraint. With compound interest, the debt was now hundreds of thousands of dollars. I picked up the phone and dialed an unfamiliar number. A gruff man's voice answered. "Who is this?" "I know where your debtor is," I said. "Her name is Chloe, and she's with her new husband, Brendan Tate, at Motel X, room 201, on Y Road on the outskirts of the city." "Who are you?" The man growled. "A good Samaritan." I smiled. "And I hear her husband was just fired and is penniless. If you don't hurry, she'll run away." I hung up and waited. About an hour later, the detective reported back. An unmarked SUV pulled up to the motel. 5 tattooed men kicked in the door of room 201. Brendan and Chloe, bruised from their fight, had no time to react. "Chloe, where's the money?" The leader roared. I don't have it," Chloe stammered. "You don't have it?" The thug sneered, glancing at Brendan. "Is this your husband? Looks fancy. Can't pay your wife's debt? What do you want?" Brendan tried to sound tough, but his voice shook. Bam! A punch landed squarely on Brendan's face, sending him reeling. "Associate chief, huh? So mighty. Now you're unemployed. Where's the money?" They dragged Chloe out, beating her relentlessly. "Where's the money? Or should you start working the streets to pay us back?" Brendan huddled in the corner, watching his wife being beaten and humiliated, unable to do anything. He had lost all courage, all dignity. "We'll give you 2 days." The leader grabbed Chloe's hair and yanked her head back. "No $150,000, and we put you on the street. And this doctor husband? We cut off one of his fingers. Understand?" They smashed the room, took the last of their cash and their empty wallets, and left. The motel manager, hearing the commotion, rushed upstairs, saw the devastation, and immediately kicked them out. Get out! Get out! You bastards, don't bring trouble here." Brendan and Chloe, one battered, the other broken, were thrown onto the street like stray dogs. No money, no phone, no home, no honor. They were officially ruined. They wandered the streets, 2 people who had once embodied arrogance, now scraping the bottom of society. They were hungry, dirty, and consumed by mutual hatred. After being beaten and abandoned by the loan sharks, Chloe left. She knew Brendan had nothing. Staying meant death. She decided running away from him was better than starving with the useless man. Brendan was left alone. He staggered aimlessly. People looked at him with curiosity, recognizing the disgraced associate chief from the news, and with contempt. He had nothing left, his career gone, his new wife gone, his fortune gone. But he had one thing left: hatred. "It's all her fault. It's all Audrey's fault. She stole everything from me. His mother's money, the hospital, it should have been his. She orchestrated everything. She made him this way. She has to die. She doesn't deserve to live comfortably on my family's money." The thought flared, consuming his mind, already dulled by hunger and humiliation. He had to kill her. He spotted a roadside gas station. He went in. In his ragged pants pocket, he still had a few last coins. He bought a 5-gallon gas can. The attendant looked at him with pity, but Brendan snapped. "My car ran out of gas. Are you selling or not?" They sold it to him. Brendan carried the can of gasoline. Where was he going? He couldn't get to the mansion. It was guarded 24/7. But he had been tracking me during his miserable days wandering. He had seen me, or he thought he had. The truth was, I had deliberately exposed my location to him. I knew the mentality of a cornered animal. He would do something insane, and I had prepared for it. I bought a small, isolated bungalow on the outskirts of the city. I hired someone to impersonate me, driving my car a modest sedan, not Eleanor's luxury car, to and from the house a few times. I deliberately let my detective be seen by Brendan while tracking him, making Brendan believe I was trying to hide my new residence, and he believed it. He believed I was hiding there, living a peaceful life after ruining him. That night, there was no moon. Brendan found the suburban house. He crept around. A light was visible through the cracks in the door. Soft music played inside. She's in there. She's celebrating. His jealousy peaked. Brendan opened the gas can. He doused the front door, the windows, everything. He took a wrench he carried and locked the doorknob from the outside, jamming the wrench into the window bars. No one could escape. He stepped back a few feet, pulling out a lighter. Click. The flame flared. Whoosh! The house immediately caught fire. Bright red flames licked the roof, billowing black smoke. Brendan stood there, watching the fire. He smiled. He laughed maniacally, a monstrous, joyous sound. D, you bitch, D. Then, from inside the burning house, he heard a scream. A woman's piercing cry, full of pain and desperation. Brendan laughed louder. He had gotten his revenge. The sirens of fire trucks and police cars suddenly tore through the quiet night. They arrived surprisingly fast. Brendan flinched, his laughter dying. He hadn't expected them to be so quick. He turned to melt into the shadows, but he bumped into someone. Someone who had been standing silently behind him all along. "Where are you going, Brendan?" Brendan trembled. He spun around. It was me. I stood there, arms crossed. My clothes were clean and fragrant. My hair was neatly pinned up. My face was calm in the flickering light of the flames. You, Brendan's eyes bulged, unable to believe what he was seeing. Why? Why are you here? You should be in there. I heard the screaming. Yes. I nodded, smiling. Someone is in there, but it's not me. What? Brendan backed away. I walked closer to him. The police were already starting to surround the area. They saw us. I whispered, just loud enough for only him to hear, cutting through the crackling fire and the sirens. "You're wondering who's inside, aren't you?" I looked into his eyes, where terror was rapidly rising. After the loan sharks beat her, Chloe ran away. She had nothing left, but she still had her greed. I used a burner phone, I continued. I texted her. I told her Eleanor's will was a fake. That Eleanor had another handwritten will hidden in this house. I told her I would split $2 million with her if she came here alone and cooperated with me to hide the money from her stupid husband, You. Brendan stammered, and she believed it. I shrugged. She came here, right on time, sitting in that house, daydreaming about $2 million. She was happily listening to music, waiting for me to arrive. The scream you heard. I ground out every word. The woman you doused with gasoline. The one you locked the door on and burned alive. That is the woman you risked everything to marry. You killed Chloe with your own hands. No! Brendan roared, a deafening sound. He lunged toward the burning house, trying to break the door. Chloe! But it was too late. The flames had consumed everything. 2 police officers rushed over, tackling Brendan to the ground. You are under arrest. You have the right to remain silent. It's her. She's the devil. She set me up. She's the murderer. Arrest her. Brendan thrashed wildly, pointing at me, his clothes still reeking of gasoline. I stood still, raising my hands, my face displaying fear and innocence. Officers, please help me. I don't understand. He's my ex-husband. He just killed his new wife. Save me. The officers looked at Brendan, screaming like an animal, his hands smelling strongly of gas. Then they looked at me, a frail, trembling woman. They cuffed Brendan and hauled him away. He was dragged off, but his eyes remained fixed on me, filled with hate and utter despair. I stood there watching the police car, the fire still raging. Everything was loud, but inside me there was a strange quietude. The case took several months to go to trial. Everything was clear. Brendan was caught red-handed. The evidence was undeniable. The purchased gas can, his fingerprints on the wrench used to lock the door, and my testimony as the victim who narrowly escaped and a witness. The text messages I sent Chloe had, of course, vanished with her phone in the fire. No one found them. Brendan ranted in court that I had framed him. He testified that I lured Chloe there, but he had no proof. The words of an insane man, a man already convicted of filial neglect, adultery, and now murder, carried no weight. His lawyer tried to argue he acted under mental provocation, losing control, but I provided the court with evidence of his stalking me and his planned purchase of the gasoline. Everything was premeditated. The final verdict was pronounced. Brendan Tate was found guilty of first-degree murder with extreme cruelty, burning a person alive, and aggravated arson. Life imprisonment. His life ended forever behind bars. The day the verdict was announced, I didn't attend the court. I drove to the countryside. I went to a quiet cemetery on a grassy hill. I had used Eleanor's money to purchase 2 plots of land here. I stood before 2 white marble headstones. One bore the name Eleanor Tate. The other, slightly smaller, next to it, was simply inscribed, Mother's Child. I placed the ashes of Eleanor, the portion I salvaged, and the remains of my unborn child that the hospital had returned to me. Here, they were together now. I laid 2 bouquets of white chrysanthemums down. I stood for a long time, watching the 2 markers. The evening wind blew through, carrying the scent of wild grass. "Mom, child," I whispered. "It's over now." Justice, in a twisted way, had been served. Brendan had paid for his crimes. Chloe had paid for her arrogance and greed. I knew that to achieve this outcome, my hands had been tainted. I was no longer the gentle, patient Audrey of the past. I was a calculating woman who had manipulated others to their death, but I did not regret it. If fate would not punish them, I would take fate's place. I stood there until the sun set behind the hill. Darkness enveloped the world, but my heart was calm. I bowed one last time to the 2 graves. "Rest in peace, Mom and child. From now on I will live. I will live the rest of our 3 lives." I turned my back and walked away from the cemetery, never looking back. The road ahead was long. I carried too many scars on my heart, but finally, after all the pain and hatred, I had found the one thing I truly needed: freedom.